Have I got something on my face? So today I'm going to be playing with my Halloween DigiKit again. Instead of making an art journal page this time, I'm going to be creating a top folding card. Now it is going to be a smaller size card, a standard A2 in American size, a standard A6 in UK and European sizes, and I'm going to be using some of the elements from the DigiSheets. One of the great things about these DigiKits is that they can be used for art journaling, they can also be used for card making, but you could also use them for scrapbooking too. So as you can see, I've already started to go through the sheets and deciding which elements I want to use from which sheets. So I've cut out the skull, as you can see, and I've got my potting soil archivaling using one of the blending foams. I'm just going to go around the edges, just grunging and dirtying up the edge of my skull. So I'm happy with the grunge around the edge of my skull, so I'm just going to use the same ink again, this time just go around and dirty up one of the background papers that I've included on the DigiKit. This is the one with the spider's web and the almost like the old-fashioned paper behind it. So just having a quick tidy up because I don't want to get that ink everywhere. And then it's time to bring out my card blank. Now this is just a standard A2/A6 card blank that I've cut from a standard sheet of card, and all I've done is cut it right down the middle and then just folded that in half. So I'm just going to trim off the sheet of paper which was designed originally to fit a small journal, so I'll just need to trim it down so that it will fit on my card front. I'm happy with the positioning of that now, so all I have to do is just to bring out my ink again and then just to dirty up the edges, just to blend it in a little bit and make it look a little bit more as though it was meant to be. So instead of using the brown, I've brought out the jet black archival ink and I'm just going to go around the edges with a piece of craft foam. What am I saying? Not foam, it's a piece of sponge. So I'm happy with the way the ink's blended across the edges. It does kind of give it that nice frame all the way around. So a quick tidy up and then I'm ready to stick down the backing paper onto the front of my card. And to stick it down, all I'm going to use is some multi-purpose glue from Collall. I'm not using Mod Podge at all today. The great thing about the multi-purpose glue is it allows you to have a little bit of wiggle room so that you can manoeuvre your piece of card or piece of paper onto your backing card before it finally grabs. So it does have some great manoeuvrability. And as you can see, I've stuck the backing paper down so that there's a good couple of millimetres or about 1/8 of an inch gap all the way around, so you have that lovely black frame. So now it's time to work with the skull. So what I want, the image that I want is just the half skull coming in from the right hand side. So I've marked where I want it and I'm just going to cut it and decide to use the trimmer instead. So I'm just going to place it on the trimmer and then in just one quick swift cut I can cut the skull right the way down, well not necessarily right down the middle, but the position where I want it, which is just slightly off the middle. So my blades are obviously not quite as sharp as they need to be, so I'm just trimming off any excess little raggy edges and then I can just stick down that left hand side on the right hand side of my card. Again, just using the same multi-purpose glue. So now that it's stuck down, I can bring that potting soil back out again and just go over the edges just to remove any kind of obvious white lines from the edge of the paper and just to start blending it into the background. And the remaining piece of skull I'm just going to stick on the inside of the card, again using the same glue as before. I'm just going to stick that down so it's coming in from the left hand side. But I want to create a kind of pocket on the inside of the card so that I can slide in a tag behind the skull and also behind a pocket. So instead of actually gluing the skull half all the way down, I'm just going to glue it down the left hand side edge, so that allows me to create a pocket that I can slide a tag into. So before I stick the skull down, I want to use the other piece of backing paper from the DigiKit, and I want to create a kind of pocket that fits across the bottom. But I don't just want to create a pocket by cutting a piece of paper and sticking it down around the edges. I want a kind of folded border on the inside of the card. So what I do is I trim the paper down and then I will fold it over and stick it down to create a kind of hem. You'll see what I mean when I do it. So as you can see, I've created the pocket with a kind of turned down pocket pleat. So all I have to do now is just to stick it down and just grunge up the edges just to make sure that it blends in with the rest of the card. So with that, I'm using the jet black archival ink and just going all the way around the orange paper just to make sure that it blends in a little bit better. So to stick my pocket down, I'm going to use double-sided sticky tape. I'm just going to create a border around the two sides and the bottom, leaving the top open so that I can slide in my tag when I create it. Now that my pocket is secure, I can just add that bead of glue down the edge of my skull half, and then I can just stick that down over the top. Once again, just using the jet black archival ink, I can go over the edges just to remove any kind of white raw edges from the end of the card. Just helps it all blend together. So time to work on the tag that I want to go in the middle. So for this, I'm going to use a Ranger number 8 tag as a template just to start off with. The card is obviously too small for the tag to fit as is, so I'm going to just use this as the basis of the shape, which I'll cut out and trim down, and then I will keep reducing in size until I'm happy that it fits inside of the card, but it's also big enough for my poison label, which you can see just there on the right, to fit nicely onto the tag. I'm just loosely positioning the poison label where I want it, and then I can also then use that as a basis for trimming down the size of the tag to the right size for a nice kind of border all the way around. And I'm going to use the hole in the tag on the Ranger tag to position on my own tag, but I obviously picked up one of the only tags probably that has an off-center hole, so I will adjust that later on. So to continue the theme of blending everything in and giving everything a dark and grungy outline and border, I'm just going to go around the outside of my tag with that jet black archival ink and the blending foam again. This just helps to blend everything together to make it look a little bit more cohesive, just in the same way you do with an art journal page really. And of course, silly me, I should have checked the size in the actual card before sticking all the ink around the outside, because I found that it's now too big, so I've got to trim it down. That'll teach me, but luckily it's not a big job and it hasn't ruined anything, because it's just a case of just removing a little bit of card from the outside. So once I've gone around the edge of my tag, I can then just check on the dimensions of the poison label to make sure that it's going to work. So all I need now is to grab a circle punch, and I'm just going to punch the concave corners from that label. I don't need an extra or a special punch to do this. I can just use a standard circle punch, as you can see, just to nib out the corners of that label. And then I can stick the label down onto my green tag once I've grunged up those edges to get rid of any raw white bits that you might be able to see. So now my poison label is stuck down, I can rectify that problem with the holes not being centre. So all I'm going to do is just punch 3 to make it a kind of a line of holes, so that I can put some ribbon through, some wider ribbon that I'm going to cut from a mesh sheet. So this is the purple spider's web mesh that I've cut down to create a ribbon. Now this was sent to me in Happy Mail by, I think it was Linda Simpson, and I'm just going to loop it through and create my ribbon for the tag. And because I've used the Halloween themed one, I think it fits a lot better than if I just used a standard, plain coloured one. And there, as you can see, it fits in pretty snugly into the pocket on the inside of my card. Next up, I want some embellishments for my card. So I have my Stampin' Up back punch, and I've just punched them out of some scrap paper that is dark coloured. It's black with like creamy polka dots on, and I've just grabbed some foam dots that I'm just going to stick one onto the tag and then another couple on the front of my card. I apologise if my voice is a little bit croaky today, because I think I'm coming down with a late summer or early autumn cold. So now that I've added my bats to my front of my card as well, I can add my sentiment. So I'm going to use my Dymo Letter Tag label maker, and I'm just going to punch out my Halloween greeting, and then I can stick that onto the front of my card. So I'm just going to trim off some excess of the label and then grab my blending tool and then just give that a little bit of a grungy border too, which makes it fit in nicely with the rest of the card, and then I can stick it down onto the front of my card. And because the labels from these labelling machines are already self-adhesive, I don't need to add any glue. So I've just grabbed my food ball pen and I'm just going to do a rough, sketchy, scribbly outline around my Happy Halloween sentiment block, and that's just about the card almost finished. But I realised I wanted to add just one final little word on the inside of the card, on the flap of the pocket. So I'm just going to punch that out on the letter tag machine, grunge that up as well so it fits in with the rest of it, and then I can just stick that onto my inside pocket as well. And there you have it, my Happy Halloween card is done and complete with tag on the inside. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this little card come to life using the Halloween DigiKit, which is now available on my website to purchase. If you have enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with all your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again in a few days. Bye for now.